Welcome back to the Viking Group Australian Superbike Championship. Well, one of the things that stands out in motorcycle racing are the leathers that the riders wear. They're not just colourful outfits and somewhere to hang advertising logos. They can always save a rider from career-threatening and sometimes even fatal injuries. Well, legendary motorcycle journalist and personality Ken Wooten shows us the equipment riders rely on to save their skin.
Well, every rider out there puts their life on the line when they ride a motorcycle, so they need good protective gear. And the main protective gear, of course, are these racing leathers. One-piece suit, you can see that it's ventilated so the riders don't overheat, so all these little holes in there. But right throughout, all this body armour in the shoulders, in the elbows, and down here in the knees, these protective panels. These knee scrapers, they're not for protection. They're actually when you go around the corner so you can feel the road and help hold the bike up. But it's all double-stitched, super comfortable. Lots of padding, and round on the back you'll see that there's also this it's like a neck protective base, also helps with aerodynamics, and inside the leathers we fit this back protector, so that protects the spine, that goes inside the leathers, and that offers the rider all the protection they need, so if they do step off at 300 kilometres an hour, hopefully they'll be battered and bruised but unhurt.
Bikes on track for the second race in the QBE Australian Super Sport Championship, and of course we revert back to the order from qualifying, but there is a small change. Brodie Waters is now on a spare bike for this second race after the damage sustained in that mistake that he made in race one where he took out his brother. They're back on the front row of the grid now, along with Kristen Casella and Kev Curtin. Mitchell Carr on road two with Aaron Gobert, Rick Olsen and Chris Quinn. Glenn Scott and Ryan Taylor are on row three. Away we go. Second race of the weekend for the Super Sport bikes. And it's a great jump from Nicholas Waters. He takes the lead and just trying to now get a result on the board. Remember, he retired from race one. His brother Brodie managed to remount and at least finished ninth, but this is a fight back for him.
Yeah, Curtin sweeping to the outside to get the run down into one on the first lap. Got past, used the speed. Waters having a look up the inside. Not going to do it there. Christian Casella third, and Brodie Waters looking for fourth and manages to nick it. It's only Justin doesn't want that bunch to get away and create a bit of a gap to his fourth place.
First time through the sweeper. Our race one winner, Kristen Casella, sweeping back towards the front. Kev Curtin through to the lead. Waters, though, hangs on for second. Casella third. Rick Olsen, the second of the Yamahas, sits in fourth spot. But it's youth versus experience on this opening lap.
Still Curtin leading. Nick Waters, Christian Casella third, settling down in this lap, and Brodie Waters, he'll be full of steam in fourth place to try and catch his brother and nail a win.
Although Casella's not in front, for mine, he's the guy to beat here. He looks so strong and so consistent over that first full 20-lap distance in race one. No reason why he can't do it again.
Yeah, and look pretty smart ride as well, just sitting on Curtin, not getting too excited until right at the end of the race. Charging hard out into the fast sweeper. Curtin, Nick Waters, Casella.
The end of the back straight, hard to make a breakaway. But as a result of the way that they finished in race one, we jump aboard with Aaron Gobert, who did lead the championship. And that was why. QBE replay will show us again. Now, this is with Gobert. That's Brodie Waters in the gap and surprises the heck out of Kristen Casella.
Yeah, punts him out wide on that last left, second of the double apexes. So Brodie Waters up into third now with a bit of a gap to Casella, courtesy of that move in between the apexes on the left. Having a look up the inside of Nick, his brother now. Not going to do anything rash like happened in the first race. Curtin, just a little bit of a gap. Now, how long and how hard are the brothers going to fight over this second position with a free shot at Kev Curtin out in the lead?
No guesses if there's any free shots after the first race. Nick does owe Brodie one. It was a mistake, an honest mistake. And he's just having a little bit of a look here on board the factory Suzuki in third place.
Casella's not out of it yet either. He's got to settle down after that and bridge the gap back, which he's pretty much done about half of it. And they've both closed up on the back of Nick Waters and Kev Curtin in first and second.
Remember too that super sport racing, a little bit different from the big bikes that run a slick tyre, not the case with the 600s.
No, they run on the treaded DOT type street tyres, and I think Casella's going to be the one with the full head of steam as these laps unfold, right up onto the back of Brodie Waters through the hairpin. Loses a little bit of drive, but well, not too bad, making a pretty good run out through the fast right-hander. Looks like it's all between these front four.
As we saw in race 1, there is a breakaway, but the composition of the four is different because both the Waters boys were not a part of the fight for the lead in race 1 after they wiped themselves out on the first lap, but they are back among it in this second race of round 2 of the QBE Australian Super Sport Championship. And Symmons Plains has such a long history of 50-odd years of motorsport racing, and motorcycle racing has been a major part of that.
Yeah, great little track, and 5th place. Olsen looks like he's bridging the gap to the lead 4, so he may become a 5-way battle for the lead in the closing laps. Waters again nicking to the inside, or ducking to the inside of his brother Nick, and through the hairpin safely again. Hard on the throttle, Nick Waters trying to go with Kev Curtin, and is making a very good job of it. Casella's on the back of the 4 now, and we'll just keep our eyes on 5th place Olsen there on the other Yamaha.
Brodie Waters goes on by his brother Nick through the sweeper, but ran out of road and had to slot back into 3rd place. There's Rick Olsen in the background. 5th place, second of the Yamaha Racing Team machines. But Nick Waters looks really racy in this race, whereas on the flip side, as he goes up the inside over the hump to take the lead, well, I guess that means he is really racy.
Yeah, gutsy move, that young bloke's move. I was just about to say Kev Curtin's showing the young blokes the way around still, but now it's roles reversed. Nick Waters leading Kev Curtin. Kev Curtin keen for a nick back at the lead, and Waters real late on the brakes, and Brodie up the inside of Kev. There's a shock for Kev, so that brings Casella with the drive on Curtin. I don't think he'll make it stick, no, not quite. So Waters from Waters, Curtin and Casella.
The lads from Mildura, the brothers look pretty aggressive in this race so far. Christian Casella's been keeping pretty much a watchful brief across it all and seems very happy with the speed that he's got. And Olsen is just starting to edge his way up into this, and he said himself he gave himself a few scares in race 1, but he might have had a few more brave pills for race 2. He's closing in. Yeah,
Kev Curtin might be a bit tentative on sitting on the back of the Waters brothers after what happened in the first race too, because remember, Nick didn't get any points and Brodie salvaged some, so Brodie's the one that definitely wants to nail his brother for the lead and the 25 points. But Kev Curtin's going to sit there, I think, for a little bit and see how the boys settle down. Nick Waters backing it right in. Is he in a bit too deep? Yes, he is. Brodie on the inside of him, and they drive side by side. Brodie just slightly in front, and on the inside, probably the right side for the right-hander. But we'll see how they come out of this. This dead even, and Curtin all over both of them.
Great shot from our Dunlop onboard camera. Brodie hangs on to the lead, but we can officially now say it's a 5-way fight because Olsen is right with them.
He's got him. He's worked hard to get there, but he's there, and he's there at a pretty good time. Plenty of laps to unwind yet, and he can see what they're doing. He's been watching them for laps as he's been catching, so he knows pretty much what everybody's up to.
You can see there that margin is pretty big back to the rest of them.
Olsen's going to pick up a pretty good draft there because of the 4 bikes in a row in front of him. Still settled. 5 in a line, and Brodie Waters way out wide into the hairpin. Nick back in the lead. Another lead change in what's looking to be a fantastic 600 Supersport race.
And now Brodie goes back on around. That was tight through the sweeper. Kev Curtin's with them though. And this is a bit more of the Supersport stuff that we expected from race 1. A bit more of the backwards and forwards that we saw at Phillip Island.
Yeah, definitely. And 2 brothers that ended up in the gravel with each other in the first race. There's a bit of expression going on here, I think. Now, thought Nick was going to have a go back up the inside, but he didn't do it. Casella's still there, right on Curtin. Olsen, as you say, is right on him now. So everybody's making some plans of who they're going to attack and where they're going to exactly put the acid on them.
A bit of a margin back to Mitchell Carr. He's quite a way back. Glenn Scott with him as well.
You can see how late Nick Waters is on the brakes, gets Kev Curtin. Brodie wide again, given the opportunity to Nick, but he can't use it. Brodie's still got a good exit, even though went wide right through the middle of it.
Olsen just dropping off the tail pack now. He'd done all that hard work.
Probably getting scared.
To get to them. But still, Casella has not made a move. Sitting there in 4th place. He's got a good gauge now on where the Suzuki's strong, where the Yamaha's strong. And clearly we know that the Triumph is strong. It won race 1 and started from pole.
Exactly. Can he make it a clean sweep? That's what he would love to do. Christian Casella on the Triumph. Plenty of time to do that yet. But keep in mind, he's not fighting like the 3 in front of him or using his tyres as hard as Olsen has to catch this group. So Casella's in the box seat at the moment, but can he execute it?
Curtin just got his way in front of Nick Waters, who goes back down the inside of the hairpin. Hasn't been afraid to go shoulder to shoulder.
Brodie seems to be choosing a bit wider line and carry the corner speed through that hairpin now to get a faster run down through this sweep. Got a bit of a break there on the pack of 4 behind him.
Not much between these 3 different types of bike. Casella having his first look in this race. He's kept a watchful brief for the first half, whereas the 2 Suzukis have really been trying to ride their way away from this pack. Up and over this crest again. Love the hump. Casella attacks and takes 3rd.
Brave move around the outside there through that first right, but it sets him up for the inside line into the tight left through there.
That's Mitchell Carr next on the road on board the Triumph with Glenn Scott on the Kawasaki, who's had a very solid and a very consistent weekend. Should be very happy with what he's done here.
Young guy, Glenn Scott, and a lot of talent. Mitchell Carr there, just showing him the way around at this stage. Both nice, tight and tidy through the hairpin. Good exit by all. Still the battle of the 5 out front. Olsen just off the back a little bit again.
And Casella launching a move through to 2nd. So he's just starting to show exactly what this Triumph has got. One by one, he's been picking them off, and he's left with just Brodie Waters.
Yeah, doesn't want Brodie to create the gap he's starting to create, so he's going to have to work hard and use everything he's got to not let Brodie get away, so there's an argument at the end. Nick Waters coming with him, Kev Curtin still in there, Olsen there and thereabouts, nothing in it really over these 5.
You can see that margin back to 6th place is really growing now, but this is where Waters has been brave, and he's been pretty strong under brakes and gets a move on Curtin.
And pulled it right down tight on the apex and picked it up back on the gas quick and hard out of there, out after Casella and his leader, Brodie Waters.
The Triumph now is going to pull the same move that he's pulled the last couple of times around this circuit. Not close enough, not deep enough on the brakes, so has to settle for 2nd at the moment.
Starting to experiment a bit and also cover his own line from Nick Waters right on his tail. So double whammy there for Christian Casella. Just maybe setting up a pass for a little bit later, lap 13 now. So about 2/3 race distance so far. And nothing between the top 5 at the moment.
He's been the only rider, Kev, that's really made use of the hump on the run towards turn 1 and tried to use that and run wide off it to launch a move up the inside, but he goes to the outside of the hairpin. The Triumph doesn't only go well, it usually stops, but he was in a bit too deep there to hang on.
Yeah, breaking really late Casella into the hairpin. You can see there about mid-track, Waters is tight, and he sees the opportunity and just grabs a big handful as late as he can out wide, and Waters nips back up the inside on the drive of the exit, but he's still in front of Nick Waters. Kev Curtin keeping an eye on the 3 out front there, sitting in 4th place. Casella's definitely closed on Brodie after that mistake down at the hairpin, and again wide, looking up the inside. Not going to do it. Bit risky. Waters probably upped the pace a little bit and was aware of it too.
Nobody else has really even looked at that move, but Casella doesn't look to be afraid of launching it towards turn 1 and 2. Curtin now slipstreaming Nick Waters.
Going for the outside. Casella again up the outside. He's going to try the same move. Waters backing it in, getting it tight. Casella a bit tighter on the 3-cylinder, try to pick it up and punch it out with the torque of the 3-cylinder against the 4-cylinder. Pretty much matches Waters, but doesn't really make an advantage until they get out here, running the wide line to set it up on the inside. the exit of that for the run into the double left, sets it up on the inside, stands it up, hauls on the brakes, but Waters carrying too much speed around the long line and the wide line.
And isn't that the thing? You get the big run down the back straight, you sweep to the outside of the sweeper, but it leaves you narrow for the next left-hander.
Yeah, stuck in tight, and you've got to stop and turn it a little bit more. Still, Curtin in fourth. Olsen, we'll see what he's got left in his bag. Curtin's teammate, sitting in fifth at the moment. Still Brodie Waters, Kirsten Casella, Nick Waters, Kev Curtin and Olsen.
Now, one of the issues in race one was lap traffic, and you could just see some other bikes on their way down the back straight, so that's going to become an issue. Waters wide, Casella to the lead. So the Triumph has been chipping its way through, and now he's got his nose back in front, but the Suzuki's got a pretty good run.
He's got the good run, but Casella wasn't going to give him the room to duck to the outside to set himself up for an inside move. Waters probably prefers the outside move anyway. Christian Casella on about a midline there. Nick still holding off. Kev Curtin for third place.
Oh, that was tight. Waters back down the inside on Casella. That's twice in this race.
Same move, done it again. That sets up for an interesting last 4 laps.
Do you put those moves down as cheeky or advantageous, or both?
Both. Just making hay while the sun shines. If the gap's there, take it at 600 Supersport Racing.
Casella not done with. Looking to the outside again. Waters and Curtin behind her, continuing this fight. This is great stuff, but Casella just has to stand it up there at the mid-corner, and that allows another Waters to go on through.
He just jumped up the inside after a bit of a break and duel with Kev Curtin on the way in. Curtin having a look, crosses back to the inside line, the shortest way around. Be up the inside, but can he make it stick?
What this has allowed is Brodie Waters just to buy himself a little bit of a breathing space, and second, third, fourth and fifth are too busy fighting amongst one another.
Yeah, and we saw this Casella do this in race one. He bridged the gap by quite a long way, so that's, he doesn't want to fight with anybody. He just wants to catch Brodie Waters, sit on his back wheel, at least for now, but the opportunities are disappearing as the laps wind down, and doesn't want that gap any bigger than it is. Curtin ranging alongside Nick Waters again. Can he make it stick this time? He's in front of him on the track, but Nick Waters very late on the brakes and deep. Can he get it stopped and turned? Yep, it's amazing how it pulls it up and turns it right in that final entry.
And now the Suzuki shoots straight back to assume side by side. He's on the outside for the sweeper and pinches across, because you want to be on the right-hand side of the road for the ideal line for this turn. The second last corner here at Symmons. On paper, it looks pretty easy, but it's actually a technical little place. But Waters run a little bit wide there, and that brings the Triumph back into the zone.
Yeah, he's in there. Casella's going to really drag this one out. He's going to have a go around there again. No, can't get away with it. Waters is a wake up to that.
So only a handful of laps to go. The Suzuki leads the way, but still I can't help but feel that Casella's in the box seat.
He's looking good. You know he's going to try the hardest. Kev Curtin again trying around the outside move. Nick Waters late on the brakes again. He'll pull it up and turn it. Casella ducking back to the inside. Lap traffic coming into play. Halfway around this lap. We'll see where should catch him around the sweep. And he's out of the way. At this point in time, all 5 should get past without interference.
That's Lawrence Good, the Tasmanian rider, the only local rider in the field this weekend. Again, Casella throwing out a little bit of a challenge. There'll be 2 to go this time by. But can Brodie Waters fight back? He managed to salvage 9th in race 1 after that contact with his brother in the first race. Just banking some points would be absolutely critical here. 25 points up for grabs for a race win, 20 for second, 18 for third, and so on through the top 10 or so.
You know that Christian Casella out of second place is just going to drop a bomb in the next lap and a half. Here he goes down the outside.
Oh, just trying to pinch some road, isn't he?
Oh, they
doesn't get it.
each other totally.
Waters made him have to stand it up, and that brings everyone else back into the play.
What a mix, and who's got the lead? Is it Olsen out front? You can see there, they're both just having a Mexican standoff, if you like, and they're right out nearly in the gravel heap, and the other riders shuffle through.
And it sent Nick Waters back to the lead, but Brodie's back down the inside, so this time by, it will be the last lap of the weekend in the QBE Australian Supersport Championship. It didn't work on the first lap of the race, but Brodie Waters has got his nose in front with one to go.
Brodie Waters, Nick Waters, Christian Casella on the Triumph, 2 Suzukis in the lead. Then Curtin and Olsen on the Yamahas. Nick Waters bouncing the front up in the air, trying hard to get the power to the ground. Casella up the outside, Curtin up the outside. Where's this going to end? You know this is going to be a massive battle. Nick up the inside of his brother again.
That was tight.
They're still on him.
Casella's got the run around the outside. Nick just didn't have it on the inside run. So it comes down to this. Couple of lap bikes up in front. They probably won't get to them quite before the checkered flag. Second last corner left. Can Casella launch a big dive bomb and get a double victory? Not quite. Nick Waters having a look at Kev Curtin and puts the Yamaha down. Not sure if there was a touch there. Maybe a small one, but back to the front. And it's all over. Brodie Waters gets the win. But I think there's going to be plenty said about what went on behind.
Here we go. Brodie Waters up the inside of Kev Curtin. Real late, tight in on the apex, and Curtin down just manages to lay flat face down and just skid away pretty much without injury.
So a great fight back for Brodie Waters from race 1. He takes the second race. Christian Casella second. He'll clinch the round. Nick Waters third. Rick Olsen in fourth. Scott on the Kawasaki next from Carr. Aaron Gobert struggling in seventh. And Chris Quinn rounded out the top 8.
Nick Waters, wow, there's not much I can say after that one. Congratulations on a great ride.
Yeah, thanks. It's a lot better than the first one. But at the end there, came together with Kev there. Sorry about that. But it's good to be back getting up here. So our first year in Supersport, hopefully be up here a few more times through the year.
I was struggling to stay on the back of him, to be honest with you. I just could not drive out of the hairpin with him for some reason. And I was trying to make it up all through here, and I'd lose it again going under the bridge and then lose it through the hairpin. But just to be there and have a good battle with him was good. I watched the battle, it was good. So, yeah, I'm happy with it.
Brodie, disappointment this morning, elation this afternoon. It's an up and down sport, motorcycle racing.
Yeah, for sure. This morning's race, I knew I had the speed to win it, but I made a pretty stupid mistake on the first lap, and unfortunately took out my little brother, but still arguing about it. But we just wanted to get 1-2 in the second race, but it's good that we both finished on the podium and come back strong at the end of the race.
And our overall round winner was Christian Casella on the Arc Electrical Triumph Daytona 675.
What do you do when it's a race like that? There's big braking areas and everyone's having a go. It's a bit like the Superbike race, you know, it's a bit of a flip of the coin, who's going to get there in the end. And to be honest, I'm pretty happy to be still sitting on the bike after that one. It was pretty crazy.
So the round win goes to Christian Casella, and that takes him to the lead. 1 point clear now of Brodie Waters in the QBE Supersport Championship with 2 rounds down. Aaron Gobert hangs on in third from Mitchell Carr. Kevin Curtin, a retirement from that second race. He hangs on to fifth from Rick Olsen. Andy Lawson Jr. and Glenn Scott rounds out the top 8.
On the other side of the break, it's back to the commentary box with Aaron and Kevin for race 2 of the Viking Group Australian Superbike Championship.
QBE presents the Viking Group Australian Superbike Championship, proudly brought to you by Motul and International Entertainment Group.